I hate being rejected, but I get rejected a lot. In university, I interviewed for 12 companies and got rejected by 10 of those companies. As an engineer, I pitched hundreds of design ideas to my teammates, and most of them got rejected. And as a content creator, I've been given a thumbs down on every YouTube video. Every time I get rejected, it's painful. But I've learned that when competing for jobs or pitching ideas or showing my work to the world, I can expect rejection. Even highly charismatic and persuasive people need to deal with rejection. Steve Jobs, who many consider the most persuasive person that they had ever met, was rejected from his own company in 1985. But like most successful people, Steve Jobs wasn't deterred by failure and rejection. He just looked for another way to get back into the company he built. Winston Churchill, one of the most persuasive leaders in the last century, once said success consists of going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. But how can we maintain our enthusiasm when failure is so painful? How can we remain optimistic about our success after an embarrassing rejection? Let's turn to renowned psychologist Martin Seligman for the answer. Mr. Seligman studies the science of optimism, and he found that the key to staying optimistic in the face of rejection is adjusting the explanatory style that we use after a rejection. There are two ways in which we explain rejection to ourselves that causes us to lose hope and give up. The first way is to talk about the rejection being pervasive, as in, this always happens. The second way is to talk about rejection in terms of permanence, as in, I'll never recover from this. Pervasive thinking takes a small, insignificant rejection and expands it to every area of our lives and every situation we might encounter in the future. Permanent thinking takes a small, insignificant rejection and extends it across all time, forcing us to carry the weight of a rejection with us throughout our lives. We use pervasive and permanent explanatory styles at a young age, and if we don't change these explanatory styles, they will have a devastating effect on our lives. As the failures and rejections mount up through adulthood, we start thinking, what's the point in trying? I'm going to fail anyways. To prevent this feeling of hopelessness, we need to adjust our post-rejection self-talk and summon our inner lawyer. Daniel Pink, the author of To Sell is Human, says that we need to dispute and confront each explanation of rejection the way a sharp lawyer would cross-examine a witness. We need to poke holes in its story, question its premises, and identify internal contradictions. I've learned to summon my inner lawyer and challenge pervasiveness by asking myself, why is this rejection specific to this situation? This question prevents me from generalizing rejection, and it helps me associate rejection to a unique situation. Generalizing rejection is like stereotyping. Just as it's stupid to assume that all white people are the same, or all Muslims are the same, or all Republicans are the same, it's stupid to assume that all situations are the same. When I ask myself, why is this rejection specific to this situation, it allows me to take that rejection and put it inside a standalone container and label that container with a specific person, a specific environment, or a specific approach. This way, I am more willing to try because I know that the next situation might be similar, but it won't be exactly the same. And for that reason, I might succeed. I've also learned to summon my inner lawyer and challenge permanent self-talk by asking myself, why will this rejection be temporary? I typically avoid rejection because it feels bad, and because I'm terrible at estimating how long that bad feeling will last. But if I take a second to look closely, I'll realize that the feeling of rejection doesn't last very long. When I got laid off a few years ago, I felt rejected, but the pain of that rejection faded after about a week. When I get a nasty comment on my videos, I feel rejected, but the pain of that comment lasts about 10 minutes. By asking why will this rejection be temporary, I remind myself that emotions rise and fall like a wave. The pain of rejection never lasts as long as I think it will. There's a TED Talk by the psychologist Dan Gilbert called The Surprising Science of Happiness, where he explains just how fast we bounce back from horrible events in our lives. He reveals a large scientific study that showed when someone gets in a horrific accident and loses their ability to walk, they experience the same level of happiness 1 year after the accident as people who had won the lottery a year earlier. Each of us has a happiness set point that we all return to quite quickly. By asking myself, why will this rejection be temporary, I'm reminded that the pain of rejection never lasts as long as I think it will. Since I'm going to quickly recover from rejection and return to my happiness set point, why not take a chance? As John F. Kennedy said, nothing worthwhile has ever been accomplished with a guarantee of success. We can learn to go from rejection to rejection without the loss of enthusiasm if we change our self-talk after a rejection, from pervasive and permanent to specific and temporary. If we learn to stop saying to ourselves, I'm a reject, and this feeling is going to last forever, and start saying, I recover quickly, and that was just a bad situation, we will stay hopeful and go from rejection to rejection without the loss of enthusiasm, and gain the experience needed to one day be successful. To incorporate this resilience lesson into our lives, I propose the following resilience challenge to you and to myself. For 3 days, write down one past rejection. This could be a rejection you received yesterday or a rejection that you received several years ago that you've recovered from. Think of a time you got turned down, you got cut from a team, you got dumped by a girlfriend or a boyfriend, laughed at, criticized, or given a poor rating. Then on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being unaffected and 10 being completely devastated, how did that rejection feel at the time? Then on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being unaffected and 10 being completely devastated, how does that rejection feel now? Then name one reason why the rejection was specific to that situation or that time in your life. Was it associated to a specific person, specific environment, a specific lack of expertise, or a specific mental state? When you do this exercise for 3 days straight, you'll start forming a new habit of thinking about rejection. When you train your mind to see rejection as specific and temporary, you're more willing to enter situations where you might get rejected. That means you'll gain more experience and be on the fastest path to success. If you're up for this challenge, hit the sign up link in the corner of this screen or in the video description below. When you sign up, I'll send you this PDF worksheet shown in the video and follow up with you to see if you completed the worksheet 3 days later. If you sign up and complete the challenge before September 18th, I'll enter your email address into a draw to win a free copy of any book that I've reviewed on my channel. Thank you for watching and good luck on your challenge.